Welcome to lesson 6. In this lesson, we're going to discuss tuning our instruments. You've been tuning your instrument for at least a couple of years now, but most students settle for coarse tuning, meaning they tune one string at a time, and you're very good at it. I'm very impressed with how close you can get just doing one string at a time, but there's a way to take it a step further. So I'd like to talk a little bit about advanced techniques for tuning our instrument. So many of us might use a tone generator where we hear a pitch and we try to match it, and then we turn the pitch on to D and we might match our D string and G and E, etc. Some people use the needle, the little gauge, and that's fine too, and you're very good at getting it right on that zero at the top. Some people are good at using their pegs. Some people rely on fine tuners. Some people have those fancy geared pegs. All good. It's all good. Eventually, do I dare say this? I think it is good to master the pegs. It is. And you have to have good pegs in good working order. If they creak and lurch, you need peg goop. And if they don't stick, you need to jam them in there a little harder, and you probably also need peg goop, because peg goop adds grip and glide. It solves both problems. And that's a whole nother discussion. We're not gonna bother with how to tune with our pegs, because I don't want to get into that right now. Instead, I want to focus on the aspect of advanced tuning that means we're tuning 2 strings at a time to a fifth. We're listening for the fifth instead of just matching our pitch or making sure the gauge is just right. We're learning to tune to a fifth. I had to install 4 fine tuners on my old fiddle because I had a disastrous experience with my pegs. I took it to someone to get those geared pegs on, those, for $100. Because of the fact that I'm in love with these steel strings, prims, I'm in love with them, but they are hard to tune with regular pegs because one tiny movement changes the pitch a lot. And I didn't want to go with fine tuners because I'm classical and I'm just kind of, it hurts my pride a little bit. So I had those fancy pegs put on and they were a disaster. Really, really sad about what it did to my violin. They had to enlarge the holes to make room for the geared pegs. And so once I had them taken out, there were these giant holes, so I had to get fatter pegs. No big deal, it's over with now and the pegs are working great. And I still want geared pegs because I think they're wonderful. I'm just not gonna get that brand, which was Whitmer. I'd stay away from the Whitmer brand. There are other ones out there that I'm going to try next. So some of us are good at using pegs, some of us rely on the fine tuners, some of us have the geared pegs, it's all good. Some of us can tune with our violin up, others have to tune with their violin down on their knees, and those are all different options that are available to you. Here's what this video is about. I would like for you to begin tuning with your violin up. If you're a lap tuner, start learning to tune with your violin up. That probably means you'll be using these fine tuners here and not messing with your pegs right now. That's okay. And what that involves is you have to develop a perfect bow stroke. Because if your bow is crooked, I'm exaggerating, but could you see how the pitch is totally messed up? Yeah, so it can influence your intonation big time. So learn to draw a long, smooth, and straight bow. Around lane 3 would be perfect, because that's easier to hear a perfect fifth than really tiny saw strokes. That disrupts the fifth. Okay, so good thing we're doing our tonalizations with big whole notes. That's perfect practice for your tuning stroke. Okay, once you're comfortable with your ability to draw a nice, long, smooth, straight bow, the next step is we use a needle or a pitch generator or whatever to get an A. You've got to tune your A string. That's an A440. If you're not sure if it's sharp or flat, just move your tuner one way or another until you are sure, and then come back the other direction. That's a trick I use a lot. I usually know whether it's sharp or flat, but it doesn't matter. Just move it somewhere and you'll develop clarity on the issue very quickly. All right, so you get your A perfectly in tune. Next, people tune the D and the G string and then they save their E string for last. The reason is that each time you change the tension on your violin, it affects the other strings. And the E string is going to be closer to begin with because it moves the least. And it's a thinner string. It has less impact on the tension of the other strings. So when you change your E string, it's not going to have that much of an effect on the others. That's why. And it's splitting hairs, but traditionally we start with the A string, then we tune A with D, then we tune D and G. So the next thing that you need to be able to do is draw a perfect long bow on 2 strings. And it's harder than you think it would be. So go ahead and add that to your practice. Do that 30 seconds a day. And I can hear that my D is out of tune. The third step is learning to hear the fifth. And I compare it to looking through a dirty window or looking through a clean window. You can still see through the window, but we all know when we're looking through dirt and when we're looking through a perfectly clean window. So a perfect fifth doesn't have any warbles in it. An imperfect fifth does. And the closer you get to a perfect fifth, the slower the warbles will get. So I'm going to move in close and I'm going to see if I can create this sound for you. Okay, that's very out of tune. And the warble is so fast, it's like a flutter. It's like going, it's that fast. Listen. And anytime I draw an imperfect bow, or when the weight isn't the same on both strings, it disrupts that warble. But I got a couple good ones in there. I hope you heard it. Okay, now listen to this. As I'm flat, as I tune up, you're gonna hear the warble get slower and slower. Now it's going whoa, 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 whoa. Ta-da. And then it disappears entirely. Okay, and that's pretty easy to do with fine tuners. You just have to get the 2 strings. You have to get mastery over a long stroke with 2 strings. And you have to learn the art of this reaching under. And you can't have your hand comfortably in the C bout here because your bow needs to be there. You got to get out of your own way and have your hand over here by the lower bout. Okay, so have your hand here, and then you won't run your horsehairs across your arm and get dirt on your horsehair. All right, and then D and G is a really good one to hear it on. Make it sharp this time. Okay, that's good and out of tune. Do you hear that? It's going really fast because it's very out of tune. Now listen, I'm going to go very slowly with my tuning, and you'll hear it slow down and eventually flatline. Okay, listen. Going ga 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 ga. Okay, I hope to heck that you heard that come through the microphone. If not, you're just going to have to spend some time with yourself and your perfect bow stroke and learn to hear that. E string. God help us on the E string. Sometimes I do the Nashville shuffle. When I'm really stuck and I just have no idea if I'm in tune or not, sometimes the Nashville shuffle will clarify it. Usually not, though. I'm pretty good at hearing it now. But remember, if you're not sure, just move it until you are sure, and then come back. Clean window, perfect fifth. All right, so start thinking about that. Get your fine tuners in working condition. Make sure that you start breaking the habit of tuning in your lap. Oh, if your violin is severely out of tune and you have to use your peg, it's okay. Go ahead and put the violin in your lap. Tune with your thumb plucking like this. And get in the neighborhood. Doing it the easy way with the violin in your lap so you can jam in on the peg as you turn, and then do your fine tuning. All right. That's all I have to say about that. Good luck with it. Let me know if you have any questions. See you in the next lesson.